This, I say Dick straight away. There you
Thank
go,
you
that's
so
a
much.
blooper. Yeah,
It's lovely to be here. It's great.
straight down the barrel, I said Dick. Okay, this week's guest. Okay, cool. Right, Rory, thank you for coming in. It feels like this feels like it's been in a diary for a long time.
It's been a journey.
Yeah, because we were introduced to each other through the local merchants, right?
Yeah.
And then we were skirting around getting you on, then we
Yeah.
had a date, and then pre-Christmas there was most
flu.
people got sick. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's lovely to see you fit and well and healthy.
Thank you.
I'm going to start with my yellow book where I've written your introduction. So I'm going to look into this camera now and talk about you just for 30 seconds.
This is a new experience. But
Yeah, okay, yeah. And you can also tell me if it's right or wrong as we go through, but I'm going to look at that camera. This I say Dick straight away. There you
Thank
go,
you
that's
so
a
much.
blooper. Yeah,
It's lovely to be here. It's great.
straight down the barrel, I said Dick. Okay, this week's guest is Rory Emery, a movie enthusiast from Essex and founder of The Moment posters. We're all correct so far.
We're doing
all
good.
level. Okay. Rory sources original vintage posters for investments, incredible wall art, or a bit of both. He loves to travel. Follow him on Instagram if you want to spark your wanderlust. Describes himself as an adrenaline junkie, which I want to learn more about because you did something fairly recently that kind of checks that box in quite a big way. He's a huge 007 fan. More about that in a bit. Rory, welcome to JobsWorth.
That was perfect.
Was that right?
That was me.
Good.
That's it.
Yeah. You wrote a lot of that.
Thank you. Yeah, well,
That was
thanks.
taken directly from your form. We're going to talk about you being an adrenaline junkie. We're going to pay homage to your love for James Bond at some point as well.
Sure.
But we are going to start with the opening tradition on the podcast, which is when you were younger, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I think that changed every week depending on what I was watching at the time.
Yep.
Obviously very into film. So my mum was very much the inspiration for that. She would always show me. I remember such a vivid memory of my mum showing me and my sister Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then me thinking, great, I'll be an action hero or something like that. That would do.
Yeah.
At 6 years old. And then it really was as insane as that. Like I'd change my mind all the time. There was no calling as such.
But it was informed by the movies
For sure.
or the
Yeah.
shows you were watching at the time.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. I think that goes for a lot of people. Maybe when I ask that question to a lot of our guests, they will try and think of something grounded in reality.
Yeah.
Oh, we get a lot of pop
Oh,
stars.
don't do that.
We get we've got a lot of dancers and stuff. But I think actually that's the one I probably relate to most.
Okay.
Is watching films as a kid and going, oh my God, I want to go and do that.
Yeah.
The one that stands out for me, Last Action Hero.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one with
Schwarzenegger,
Schwarzenegger? Yeah. And I remember watching him in that movie and being like, oh, that'd be pretty cool doing a bit of what he's doing. So the earliest memory you have is Raiders of the Lost Ark and Indy and doing that.
Yeah, it was very much, I was at a friend's house and there was Bond on the TV and I just remember saying to my mum, what is that? And she said, oh, that's James Bond. And the day after we went to a newsagent at the top of my road and they had a video in there and I saw James Bond on it. I said, oh, can we get this? And she was like, yeah. Always spoilt me. Gotta love her. Yeah. And then, just watched it and fell in love with it. I think it was just escapism for a 6-year-old, just seeing action, cars, everything like that, and just thought, wow.
I think the nice thing about James Bond as well is that it's action that at 6 years old you can get away with watching.
For sure.
Do you remember
It's not too heavy.
what Bond it was?
Well, it's funny you say that because it was Licensed to Kill, and that is the only 15 in the franchise. So it's like, it was very brutal, but she didn't really know that.
Timothy Dalton.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Good knowledge.
I remember quite vividly that film, and
Right.
it was there was
more brutal. Yeah.
There was more in it.
Yeah.
And that's all right. We won't judge. But yeah, I think that's great.
I've turned out all right. It's
Yeah,
fine.
you turned it. Yeah, exactly. But that sparked your love of both movies and specifically
Bond,
James
I'd say,
Bond.
yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned in your form, because we could talk. I think I get trapped sometimes into talking a lot about school and a lot about college and a lot about education.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much of that we could talk about, and we'll circle around to that too.
Sure.
But something you wrote in your form, which I found quite telling is that you grew up a lot around traders, people working in insurance broking as well.
Yeah.
That were all saying, you don't want to do what I do.
Yeah. So it was very much when I was, growing up, I saw Bond. It was like, I thought, right, everyone needs to be in a suit. When I've left school, I'm going to get in a suit. I'm going to go and make money. And I'll be happy doing, what's everyone doing around me? Insurance, trading. And I thought, brilliant, I'll just do that.
So that was your doorway
That was
to
as
wear a
logical
suit.
as I got. Yeah, there was no more than that depth.
way.
Yeah, because it's easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there we go.
Yeah.
And that was just, I remember that vividly. And I remember thinking to my parents, great, I'll just go and do that. So there was no sort of worry about that. And then I remember being, I think 15 or 16, and I went to do a week's work experience. And again, it's the thing of a week's work experience. They just, I think, very un-PC, got me drunk every day.
Okay.
And yeah.
Well,
and I was like, this is brilliant. Yeah. I'll do this. Thinking, this is
when you
great.
go up to the city and you get embroiled in that lifestyle, it's a big...
Well, work experience, they definitely don't take the 16-year-old work experience seriously. Maybe it's changed now. I'm not going to name where, but anyway.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so it was very much, that's what I'll do then.
Right. Okay. But I guess the question I had, because I saw that on the form and I was like, okay, because you were at an age, I'm trying to think of the age difference. You're in your early 30s.
I'm 29. Early 30s. Christ, I am nearly there though, so.
You're 29.
Adjusting.
You're 29. For some reason, I remember you saying, no, I mean, I don't want to offend you, I'm sorry.
You haven't offended me,
wholeheartedly, I'm sorry. Right, you're 20, right, so you're 29. But even then, still in the bracket of that generation where maybe the career paths when you were going through school, the traditional career advice you were getting was go into the city, get a stable job, get a traditional job. Is that fair to say?
I would say that's the only thing I sort of knew to do.
Right.
I thought that was just what we did.
Okay. Rite of passage.
Yeah.
It's do college.
And it wasn't even really from my parents. It was actually just more the people around me. So people at school, what their parents do, what, in the neighbourhood do. It's just very, a commuter town, isn't it? In terms of like which is nothing wrong with that. It's just that's what I thought I'd do.
Yeah, there's no shade on that. But yeah, again, you see, you do drive around there and you see everyone walking down to the station in what pre-COVID used to be a lot more suits than you see now.
For sure.
But yeah, that kind of, is that almost like, brainwashing is too big a term, but you are conditioned to think, well, that's the next step for me. As lemmings,
Totally.
we go, there we go. And I'm going to join that queue, go down to the station,
Totally.
wait on
I
the
agree.
platform and do that.
I agree.
But interesting that people around you that had maybe been in that career a little bit further down the line were saying, you don't want to do what I do.
Yeah, so I think I've always had this sort of wheeler dealer side to me. So I remember being 12 years old and I had a neighbour next to me. He was a trader and very influential in my sort of growing up. And I remember having a PlayStation game, which I'd had for a couple of years, didn't play it. And I thought, I'm going to go sell this to Mark next door. I can name him, he won't care. Yeah. So I went, brilliant. I went round there. I'd be like, you're right, Mark, 20 quid for this. The game was worth probably £3. He was like, okay, all right, done. And then he went, come in. I went, brilliant. Can I have a Pepsi? Because I wasn't allowed Pepsi at home. So I walked in, grabbed a Pepsi, and I was just chatting to them. They were, I don't know how old they were at the time. I don't even want to say, but they're older than me. And I always found that very easy to sort of hang around adults. And so I think that being influenced, people like that, who was very much in finance, things like that, I thought that's what I'll do. But then they always said to me, you're always going to do your own thing. Because I sort of have always sort of done my own thing in a lot of ways. I don't know. I just remember that memory. I don't know why.
No, but it's a cornerstone, isn't it? I mean, you're recalling it because it's stuck in your mind.
Yeah.
My ability to retain anything from when I was a kid is really, really tough. Like I don't have that moments because I'm so far away from that now.
Don't be silly.
But I think those moments do shape us. And I just wonder, you've got these people that you're looking up to or this idea of what the traditional kind of career pathway looks like.
Yeah.
And they're saying to you, either you specifically won't do this or trust us, you want to do something different to this.
For sure.
And I wonder how much that's informed the route that you took now, because you're 29.
Yeah.
Not early 30s, but you run your own business.
Yeah.
And that, I just wonder how much that's stuck in your head. Clearly, you can kind of recall that memory.
Yeah. It was sort of never... I very much then started to do, things like I'll do work experience. I spoke to people in various industries. I tried a few things out. And I just realised pretty swiftly on that it wasn't really for me finance in general. Also, I wasn't qualified. It wasn't like I went off and did a degree, did all of this stuff. It was like not something I really...
It doesn't stop many people though, does it?
Well, that's why I thought I'd do it, to be fair. That's why I was like, okay, everyone can do it.
Yeah.
But it was just like, it wasn't for me. And I learned that pretty quickly. And I think to give myself some credit, what I am good at is when I'm very interested in something, I think I can really, believe in myself and do well.
Yeah.
But the minute I'm not, I very much struggle with it.
Right.
And I think
so. Yeah, if you can focus, if you can zone in on something, you've got that. You're kind of purpose led, you're passion led.
I would say so.
And you go down that and follow it.
Yeah,
that's great. What did your parents think of the route that you took work wise? Because we're talking about like looking at finance and maybe not wanting to pursue that. But what did you do before you started the business that you're running now?
Oh,
an array of,
you ready? How long you got?
Things. Go on. Well, give me the abridged version.
Sure.
But I do want to ask like what your parents did and maybe that helped shape your experience too.
So the best thing is I always put pressure on myself because I always wanted to do something and do well in it. I always did. And my parents were very, laid back in a great way. They were very much like if I wanted to do something, they're fully supportive. So, and they haven't even asked me to say that. That's just, that's coming from the heart.
Yeah.
But I remember being 16, I, did the work experience, didn't want to do it. I did the first year of A-levels first few months. I thought, I really don't like it now. I'm ready to work. Fully supported it. I mean, I think it's amazing, a couple of months in to A-levels. I don't know what I'd be like with my kids, but they just said, I just basically said I'm done. I had no plan. And they were like, okay, fine. And in terms, but not in a way of, do nothing.
Yeah.
But very much like, okay, so what are we going to do? And it was very much, and strangely, my first opportunity I got outside of that, I went to a James Bond event in Oxford Street. There was a Sam Mendes interview, director, and I thought, I'm going to go up and get the train. I'll go and do that. I don't know how I even paid for the train fare, but there we go. And I just sat next to a guy who I later found out owned a media company. And I just emailed him and said, can I work at your media company? He said, great, you can do an internship for me. And that was kind of how my first thing, and I was 16, 17, and I did a good 3-month stint at this media company.
That's amazing. And you orchestrated that all yourself. So that's not your parents.
No orchestration. It was very much me.
Fare, maybe.
Oh, of course.
But
absolutely.
They're not introducing you and doing the handshakes for you. It's just like off your own back at 17.
But this is the weird, I've always had that weird thing where I find it very easy to talk to adults. Like when I was old at 15, I was always, talking to...
Right. Like wise head on your shoulders.
Well, I say wise. I hate to say that because I was probably really immature in some ways, but happy to talk to older people.
But the confidence was there to break down those barriers. Like me at 17, I was still nervous in a lot of social situations. Great at school with people my own age, but if you'd asked me to go on a train to an event where I knew no one, and then not only do that, but introduce myself to the person next to me and then follow up with an email, I don't think I would have ever connected the dots doing that. Yeah. So it's an amazing trait that you've got that's obviously served you well.
I think I was desperate as well. I did have nothing going on.
But it's 17, even to acknowledge that you're desperate and that you need to kind of push yourself out of your comfort zone, whether it was there or not, I think that's an amazing quality. What was it? So again, it was a continuation. Going up to see the Sam Mendes interview was just a continuation of this Bond.
Bond's followed me everywhere in terms of, it's very strange. Like all of my opportunities seem to have stemmed from that, which is great.
It's a pretty cool thing to be into, though, isn't it? There are worse kind of hobbies or passions.
I'm so not into sport, and I cannot talk about sport for more than a second.
Yeah.
Apart from a few, one-liners my friends have given me over the years to start a conversation.
The things that you should know. Yeah. The derby, whatever that means. I don't know.
I don't know what that is. But yeah, exactly. So that was the first example of it, I suppose.
Can you remember as well the Sam Mendes interview?
Vividly. Vividly, yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah. So it led to this internship, which got you into the city?
So I did 3 months working in Holborn at a media company. It was an advertising company. I was very much in, I think it was HR, sort of admin, nothing to, I wasn't majorly interested in it, but obviously it's the first opportunity, so I jumped at it, and it was great. But I think pretty soon on, I sort of got a bit itchy feet in terms of the office thing, the 9 to 5 thing. It was a massive transition for me. But I did stay in media for a while. I did then moved on to a different media company, and I did very much early on advertising work for EA Games at a media company, which was cool.
Yeah.
But then it was after that, again, the wheeler dealer in me, I'd sort of done a few things before. So I sort of left the idea of going for a full-time role and wanted to do something for myself.
Nice.
Quite then.
That's an early point in your life.
Well, I was probably 19 now, 20 now.
Yeah, still.
Yeah.
I mean, I was self-employed at 19.
Yeah.
But again,
Awesome.
had to force myself to start growing in confidence.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
a lot of that was alcohol related, I think, at the time. But I was a
works.
PT for years at that age. But I still think for you to have come to that conclusion,
Yeah.
I think is a really early point to have done that. So we've got a little bit of gap to kind of bridge, I guess. But
Yeah.
what led you to start the moment?
So that was very much, I can tell you the first example of the idea of it. It was COVID. I was working sort of in events at the time, didn't really know what to do. Again, there was a good period in my life where I tried a lot of things and I had no idea what I wanted to do, and didn't find anything. And I bought a few posters, very, nothing special, just because I loved them. Obviously from a young age, Bond particularly, that's where it started. And I remember thinking, well, I actually bought one from a London gallery. Why don't I just ask the gallery for any sort of work? And they know me quite well because I've been in there every time I go to London, basically. And yeah, it took a few months of persuading the owner, but she very kindly gave me a job there, and I worked in sales for a year at that gallery, and it was an amazing experience for me, and I loved it. So it was great.
I think you're the definition already. I can tell you the definition of self-starter. Like
Yeah, I think so.
everything you're doing is just self-perpetuated, and it's amazing.
I'm actually trying to make it all work because I'm trying to remember it myself.
No, it's good, but it's great. It's great to hear it. I want to take you back a couple of steps because you're talking about. So how old would you have been?
So that's
20s.
now COVID. So it's 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mid-20s. There
Yeah.
we go. I'll get that one right. Mid-20s. But what was your experience of buying posters when you were younger? Because my experience of buying posters was HMV, going into the poster rack in the tubes
Yep.
and putting posters on my wall. That was I just want to know.
So very early days, that was me.
That was a shared
That's what I
experience.
did with.
You didn't start going into London galleries and buying your movie posters.
Absolutely not. Yeah,
good.
I really did.
I'm glad. All
I
right.
barely got the
It's
train
more
fare,
relatable
let alone-
now.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so my experience of having it was always movies. Like I loved music, but I
Yeah.
didn't have music or musicians or bands on my wall. It was always movie posters.
Yeah.
But yeah, always HMV or going through the bargain bin just to see the ones that had some snarled edges or whatever.
Yeah.
So just wondering, and then the upgrade for you happened when the London Gallery came into play.
Yeah.
But again, led and driven by your love for. Keep talking about James Bond, but movies in general.
Yeah, it was. It was movies in general. Definitely.
Do you remember the first poster that you did buy? Put you on the spot.
I remember the first one. My mum bought me a License to Kill poster.
Okay.
And that was the first original I ever had. I remember her telling me.
It was an original.
This was even a while ago, and they've really gone up in value the last few years. So at the time, it wasn't, crazy expensive, but it was just the fact that she said to me it was original. And I just remember being like, oh,
yeah.
I remember holding it, putting it on the wall, blue tacked it to the wall. So obviously I had no idea what I was doing. But
you mean you can't do that with original movie posters?
Don't damage them.
It's not on your advice.
Yeah, exactly.
The advice,
not
not
on my
your
advice
website.
sheet. Yeah. But no, and I just remember that being a thing. So that was the first one I physically had.
Amazing. And the first one that you purchased?
I think it was Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Right.
I think it was. Or it was You Only Live Twice. It was very much at the same time. There were just two,
Had you already, before getting this job at the gallery, started to get a handle on the value and what posters had value and maybe what posters to identify? Or was it at the gallery that really skill started
I would
to
definitely say
sharpen?
before that, because I was buying for myself, and I learned a lot from them. They taught me every time I went in. I had a good chat with whoever was working. So yeah, very much for over a few years, I'd say, just sort of brought up the knowledge.
Yeah. But that time at the gallery kind of sharpened that skill set?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And it, put me in front of pieces, Casablanca's worth 100,000 or...
Wow.
I remember seeing that and just being like, well... but when you really do see them and someone says to you, how iconic that film is and how, there was a war on at the time... I think one of them was printed on the back of newspaper or something like that, just because there was paper shortage at the time, stories like this. And then because they were originally made to be, sent back to the distributor or then destroyed. Right. So no one kept them. There was no, aftercare on posters. So that's why, supply and demand, it's very much that. And the more iconic the film, the more demand there is for, something like Casablanca is not going anywhere. It's a masterpiece. It's great.
That's incredible. So, had you already had that emotional connection? Did the emotional connection help with what you were doing? I mean, it obviously helps now with what you do.
Yeah, yeah, I think so, because I've always loved film, and then I love I love the posters because I love the films, and then But strangely now you can love a poster when you don't love the film. You know, there's so many titles with terrible films with an amazing poster. It's
because you appreciate the art or what's gone into it, or maybe even the artist that's done that. A lot of the posters I've seen from
I love that. You know, if I could do anything, I'd go back in time to the 60s and see a Bond film in the cinema, because I think it must have been, you know, no one travelled really at the time to see locations, to see that a poster was the only way of sort of advertising the film, really. Yeah. Like that's the only sort of visual thing you would see and be like, oh, I want to go and see that. Yeah. Whereas now, obviously, it's not the same. There's so many, you know, we watch videos and content and stuff, which is great in another way. But it's just like, I love the fact that that poster had all of the, you know, it was so important for the poster to be eye-catching.
Completely, yeah. I mean, the artistry that went into that and the brief that you would have had to have been given
for sure.
To go, right, this is your responsibility to get bums in seats. That was what a poster was doing.
That is what it did, yeah.
Yeah, that is the form of marketing, as you say.
And I just find that fascinating in itself.
Yeah, interesting. So you've got this year experience in the gallery.
Yeah.
And then what comes next?
So it was very much in terms of thinking long term, again, always wanted to do my own thing. And, you know, I left in a really nice way. They really helped me out. But I was ready to do my own thing. And I felt like I finally found that thing that I wanted to do.
Okay.
And I was excited about it.
So what was the thing that tipped you over the edge and realised I can't do this anymore, I want to go and do this? Do you remember the moment? Sorry.
No, I like what you did there. I do that all the time. It's perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so good.
I think, again, it wasn't from the start. I thought this is what I'll do for a career, but then naively, I think I've always wanted to do my own thing as well. So I just think that it got to the point where I just thought, right, in terms of a long career, there's so much I want to do here. I want to do it myself. And I want to sort of find new ways of doing it. So rather than a physical gallery, I like to go to my clients directly. You know, it's very easy to run around. You know, if there's a client in New York who wants something, deal with them, go over there, things like that. It's just everything I love, you know, the travel log of it, going everywhere. I love traveling. I love all of this, and it's great. So I think that I just wanted to do something new. So that's why, yeah, I think so. That doesn't really make sense.
No, it does completely. I think we speak to a lot of people that have the eureka moment or the epiphany when something needs to change. Yeah. Again, you're not, in the most respectful way, you're not completely reinventing what you're doing. You're taking parts of what you loved doing,
for sure,
which is working with this medium that you've got this emotional connection to and a real passion for, but you're doing it in a different way. You haven't got a physical space. It's so much about the experience that you have one-to-one with the clients that you work with, right?
Massively. Yeah. So, you know, the clients I've really made friends with now, I love someone who doesn't have any idea and just wants to learn about it. I love it, because then you very much start from the beginning. What do you want to know? And everyone loves it. I think everyone has a nostalgic memory of a film. You know, I was with a client the other day who actually just put up a Tiffany's poster, a Vertigo poster, amazing pieces. And they're not film people. They don't, you know, they appreciate it.
Yeah.
And they weren't really sure, but when they saw the artwork, they saw it on the walls, they were like, we're really happy with it.
Right.
And it is that thing where it's for everybody, I think. Everyone's got some sort of nostalgic memory to a film, or you know, Tiffany's or something like this. You can appreciate things, but you're not, you know, you don't need to have even seen it.
Yeah.
And then there's the investment side to it, because loads of them are highly collectible.
Well, this is jumping ahead slightly, but I think it's a good time to ask the question now. What the buying habits of the clients that you work with, what is the balance from the emotional side of purchasing something to the investment side of it? Do you see it weighted one way or the other?
So I think I would probably say we're heading towards more 50-50 now. Okay. So very much at the beginning, it was I help people out, are collectors and very interested. And that's always great. I love, you know, speaking to people who are very interested as well. But then I do find it thrilling when someone thinks, you know, my job essentially is to explain why this poster is worth more than a £5 in HMV. You know, why is it worth more than a £5? And people don't really know, and I don't blame them.
Yep.
And I love talking to them about, you know, why it is. And then you go into supply and demand. These were printed exclusively for cinemas, meant to be destroyed or sent back. Like I say, most of them were, especially when you go the further back. And then it's like classic cars, watches, they're antiques, you know, and it's just another form of that, really.
So you're talking to people about the provenance of that poster, the history, what could have been happening more broadly than the poster at the time, the cultural significance of that film, the impact it might have had. Yeah, I think that's amazing.
But it's also like Bond, for example, there's different variations depending on what country you're in. So it's not like if you don't like this specific poster, you can go to 40 posters from a Bond film. There's so much variety at different prices as well. So it's great there's sort of something for everyone. There really is.
Yeah. You strike me as someone that has got this, can't say encyclopedic knowledge, we'll test that. But you are so informed about the subject that you're speaking about. I do want to mention you had an ADHD diagnosis.
I did.
Do you feel like that benefits you both in terms of running your own business, but also being able to be so passionate and the retention of that information and being able to share that with people in the way that you do?
I mean, when I was in school, like I speak to people now, I've got friends and neighbours who I, quite close with, and they sort of said to me, ADHD is quite a spoken about thing now, and I think in school and stuff like that,
there's
very
less
much
of a taboo about it, I think,
massively.
for sure. Yeah.
And but when I was at school, I promise you, I didn't even know what that meant until a few years ago. I really didn't. And I look back now. Early last year, I had a bit of a tough time. The business was quiet, I think, with everything going on in the US and politically and stuff. So it was just a bit bad period. I was also training for the marathon, which I think took it out of me as well. Just thought I'd name drop that. Yeah. And then after the marathon, I think that purpose had gone. Right. And suddenly I'm probably knackered. And I was a bit like, and I was struggling doing things that I wasn't passionate about. So obviously there are areas of business you need to get done and which aren't that exciting.
Yep.
And I was struggling with that. And it was very much a time where I was like, why don't I look into this now? I did. And it's game changing for me. If I look at the last year, where I was last year to now, it's been, crazy.
Yeah.
And I seem to remember that was where we first met in that kind of transitional period. And you very kindly said, do you want to come on the podcast? And I remember being like, I'm not sure I can right now.
Look, there's a lot going on, a lot to process.
Yeah.
But we've spoken to a few people that have been diagnosed with ADHD.
Yeah.
And the response to that varies. Some people feel like, I guess they've missed out on something by not having had that diagnosed earlier. So maybe that's part of the process that you've gone through. Some people get annoyed the fact that it's labelled as a superpower, because at the same time there are pros and cons to anything like that. But again, focusing on, I guess, the positives from an external perspective, I just wonder how much that's benefited you in both running the business. Again, pros and cons, right?
Yeah.
But also in your ability to retain that information and to speak coherently about it. Because again, you could go off on all sorts of tangents, couldn't you? But totally. It's conveying that message in a smart, concise way.
I just think my approach to it is I loved learning about it because now I know how to deal with it. And it's as simple as that. I don't want to, like I say, I don't need to watch something telling me it's a superpower. Everyone's got all sorts, going on.
Yeah.
I'm no better or worse than anyone. It's just, but I have an understanding of how my brain works now.
Yeah.
And I think that's really helpful. So when I am struggling with something, I'll be like, oh, that's only because of this.
Nice.
Work it out.
Okay.
And then, or help someone, ask someone. And I think I would say the best thing for me is I'm not beating myself up now. And that was the thing with ADHD. It's very common because I wasn't doing that. Rather than thinking logically, I was like, why aren't you doing that? Whereas now I'm like, find a way, we'll work it out,
Yeah.
So that's, been really good.
So as an example, pre-diagnosis then, how would a quieter January have impacted you? Or how would have something, a curveball hitting the business, how would that potentially have impacted you in comparison to now post-diagnosis?
Well, so I think that, for what I do anyway, obviously November, December, like a load of businesses in my kind of world are really busy, and then it goes quiet in January, which is normal. But I think I wasn't good with my own company before in terms of when I have a lot of free time, I'm not good. I like to be busy. And I think that now I'm okay with that a lot more because I know why.
Okay.
I don't, again, it's just beating myself up. I think that's the best thing, to have come from it. And that's helped me a lot.
Yeah. No, brilliant.
So if it's quiet now, it's not my fault that it's quiet. It just is what it is, the reality of the business.
Exactly.
And you also, rather than be annoyed about it, just keep talking to people and keep
There
growing.
are elements that you have to accept that are outside of your control.
For sure.
And if you put the blame at your door all the time, you will just... So it's self-flagellation. You're just hitting yourself in the head constantly. That's not helpful for anyone.
Yeah.
And you realise that you are not in control of everything.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
What's the biggest lesson you've had to learn, not talking about ADHD now, but since starting a business?
I think it is just, you just keep going. And I think I'll use an example. I went on a James Bond podcast. And
all right.
Yeah, just can you believe it? Why would I have done that?
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And someone from New York called me about a poster, and he said, he said, I know you are, I listened to you on the podcast. And I just thought that was amazing. And I just thought, wow, because I wasn't sure on podcast or doing it just because I'm not comfortable with it. It was like a new thing to me. And I just remember being like, wow, that's amazing. I've just done this very niche sort of world of, I thought it was anyway, naively, but it just shows you how the modern world and how, so I think, what was the question?
Well, it was one lesson that you've learned since starting a business.
Just keep going and trying new things. Very much talk to everybody. Don't write anything off. I think just get used to being uncomfortable, really.
Yeah, that's
I've never had a camera in my face like this, and I'm a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm used to it already. I'm happy.
It's a great piece of advice, though. Like, I think the adage is nothing grows in the comfort zone, right?
For sure.
That will make people groan listening to this, but it is completely true. Like, saying yes to something that you are scared of is the best way of growing. And when you're running a business, saying yes to something you're scared of can actually relate to and equate to money,
exactly,
and to your business surviving. So you never know where those opportunities are going to lead. For every positive about running a business, there are cons, though. There are negative sides of it. What is the reality for you? Some of the things that may be on the outside. You look at your Instagram feed, Rory. It's pretty glamorous. Like, you go to a lot of locations. I said about in the intro, look at your feed to kind of spark the wanderlust and see what you're doing. It's very easy. Again, the Instagram sheen, the tailored side of
that is what it is.
Exactly. You're promoting that. But what is the reality of what you do that you wish people knew? So, the hardships. We'll get the violin out as well. But what is the reality of running a business?
Obviously, I love it, so that does help. But I do think that some people say to me, I remember someone said to me, "Oh, you only sell posters, though." And they weren't even being rude. They just said it off the cuff.
Yeah.
I just thought to myself, well, you try and sell a poster. In terms of, like, it's not, that I love a poster, but that doesn't mean every morning I go, posters, let's go. Because no human does that about anything they do. You get used to what you do, and then I love it. But I just thought that was really funny. So it's very much, it's still a business, and it needs to work as a business. So in quiet periods, I've still got to make that work. Yeah. In busy periods, I've still not, keep going, I would say.
Yeah. Could you still be...
You can tell that one irked me, didn't you? I was ready to go.
It's good. I think anyone that doesn't understand what anyone else is doing and the reason why they're doing it, or sees it as, you're only doing that.
For sure.
But that would have grated against me if someone said you're only doing anything. And it's lovely that you can make money from something that you link to so much passion. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You've made that decision to do that.
For sure.
You've gone out and decided, this is my living, this is how I'm going to make my money.
Yeah.
Does it detract any of the joy away from your love of film or posters by it being your primary way of making a living?
Not at all, I'd say, which is great. And I do, and that's where I do have to remind myself I am doing what I love as well. So that is a good thing. I very much, I'd say a lesson from the small business has been, I definitely will now, whatever I end up doing in my life, whether I do this forever or not, it's very much, I've got to do something I enjoy, because I think that is just so important to me more than everything. And I think that you will become successful by doing that because you love it so much. I think everyone should do what they love, I think they would. Is that a good soundbite?
No, it is honestly. I think that's such an important point for people to hear. Could you do what you do without being passionate about it if you just saw it as numbers?
I just think you would choose something else just by purely, it's not black and white in terms of you've constantly got to, source things for people. I get people calling up saying, find this. I've got to ring people all over the world. You say in terms of the best part, I would say, is that the traveling aspects, I built a good relationship with a woman in Los Angeles. So I went there quite a lot. And I remember her warehouse was filled with posters, incredible. So like a dream for me. And we just spent days just looking through stuff. And she'd be like, oh, I remember this. And it's just incredibly rare and valuable just on a shelf. Yeah. And to me, it's like, this is amazing.
But would you go to that effort if you were just seeing it as purely an investment thing? I guess.
I just think you would struggle, and I think you would then. There's a lot of work behind it as well, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm sure there's a lot of other ways of.
Yeah. Is it the best way of making money on as an investment piece, or if you were working in that, if you were choosing a market, maybe posters is not the one. you don't have that connection.
If you don't
to
have
them.
the sort of understanding of it, because there's so many ways you can go wrong, and that's
Yeah.
why it's important to use a dealer.
Look, there you go.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
That's good.
I guess I'm going to geek out about posters.
Let's do it.
I want you to teach me some stuff if it's okay.
Sure.
What makes a poster valuable? Are there a number of facets to a poster that makes it?
So
a
I
certain
would,
value?
of course there's, unusual circumstances with some pieces, but generally it's Bond, Star Wars, Godfather, Tiffany's, all of these things which everyone knows and loves. They are valuable because everyone wants them. Jaws. I mean, the image of Jaws, the poster. That's all you think of. And that is how that's how you know something's collectible. I would go then country of origin. So with Bond, the real investment pieces are with the British posters. So there's other, foreign language versions which are rarer and there's less of them. But strangely, that doesn't mean they're as collectible because everyone wants British because you associate Britain with Bond.
Right.
The same way with Star Wars, you go American, you go US. So I'd say that's where I would start first. What the title is, how iconic it is, the country of origin, as I was saying, depending on what the franchise is. And then there's just supply and demand, But then again, it makes sense, right? There could be two posters from a film in the 1920s. If no one knows what the film is, they're not worth anything.
Yeah.
So it's not all supply and demand. That's why a lot of people say to me, how many of these are there? And the weird thing about posters is it's not like traditional art investments because you don't know.
I think for me, as you say, if you're releasing art, you've got a limited edition run of say one of 50, one
For
of
sure.
200, one of 500.
Yeah.
But the posters, especially in that time, were not meant to be viewed as a collector's item decades down the
They
line.
were printed cheaply, mass printed, sent everywhere, purposely to advertise and then to be destroyed.
Yeah.
There was
So
no...
it is an emotive thing. It's the same as anything in life, right? We are placing the value on these things.
For sure.
And it's enough people believing at one point that something is worth something
Then it is, yeah.
that allows it to be that
But
value.
it makes so much sense to me.
No, but I do understand what you're saying. I think for me, what I would love to be able to do, and this is part of the reason I reached out to you about sourcing a poster,
Sure.
is we can now all identify the iconic films of decades prior.
Sure.
We all know what they are, as you say, Jaws, Star Wars,
Yeah.
James Bond. What I want to do is speculate what the films now are going to be iconic in the future. And
Okay.
that's because again, if I'm thinking of as an investor,
Yeah.
I know that buying posters now, you're rolling the dice a little bit. You're hoping
Sure.
that there's going to
Yeah.
be that love and attention placed on that film, that reverence for that film later down the line.
For sure.
But do you find people doing that, or the posters that are sourced now are more because people love a film or connect with
I think it's half and half because I think the collecting market really kicked off in the mid-90s, I think.
Okay.
And it was very much, before then, nobody ever thought about collecting or investing in posters or anything like that, really, unless you loved film, but you weren't doing it for a
So
financial...
it was really the 90s that it really kicked in a bigger way.
So a Dr. No quad, the British quad, the first Bond film was about £1,000 in the late 90s, I think. Fast forward to a couple of years ago, it sold in Sotheby's for 120,000, something like that. And that is very much above market value. That's a huge, but it still tells you that people want it and people are interested in it. And yeah, so with the modern stuff, I think that we're all in an understanding now. If you find something in the attic and you think, oh, this could be worth something, that's the first thing you do now. So you don't just go and give it to the charity shop. You think, let's find out if this is worth something.
Yeah.
So I don't know is my answer. But then there are recent titles like Grand Budapest Hotel, something like that. That's the one I always think of from the last sort of 10 years, just over 10 years now, that everyone wants, and that one is slowly creeping up.
really?
So as a modern example.
Yeah, I'm really asking for investment advice, I guess. Rory. No, but
There's a waiver. I've got to sign somewhere on that.
yeah. But I do think it's really interesting because I've bought so many movie posters in recent years, a couple of originals, but nothing, like, again, I bought a Gladiator quad because I love Gladiator.
Great
like
film.
It was really
Yeah.
with no thoughts about the investment potential later down the line.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's getting that balance between, again, buying from the heart and because of the emotional connection and buying as an investment. But I think it's such an interesting medium to be viewing as an investment.
But I do think that something like Gladiator, which is generally people love it, that's the best place to start.
I don't think Gladiator 2 did any favours for it.
No.
Probably knocked some money
I didn't
off
love
of
it. I didn't love it.
It was
I actually
awful.
really didn't love it.
It was an awful film.
Yeah.
I genuinely want to start a movie podcast, Rory, and we need to,
let's go.
You need
ready.
to be a long-term collaborator on that because Gladiator 2 was shit.
Yeah.
Right, okay. I wanted to ask as well about some of the most interesting posters that you've sourced.
Sure.
So you don't have to say where they've gone, but I'd be really interested to get your views on your opinion on the most interesting posters that you found over the years.
So it's been something like a Casablanca I found. There's been unusual Bonds. So like I love when I find like a huge Italian Bond poster because they're stunning. The artwork's always different. So I found things there which are unusual. A Star Wars Marla Haley set, which is like a specific, not many of those. It's very geeky now.
I love it.
In
Go
the
for it.
70s. No, it's great, but it's just a very different set of posters which are not, what you think of. Found those. It's just, I do love it when somebody asks me something. At the moment, I'm looking for It's a Wonderful Life.
Right, okay.
And I've been looking for that for a few months. There's one I found, need to work on the price on that. But
brilliant.
It's very much like there's always something, and I love it. And again, something like that, It's a Wonderful Life's notoriously one of the best Christmas movies.
So when you get that phone call or email, do you get like,
I love it.
The butterflies hit and you're like,
well, because then the fun begins for me. It's
yeah.
very much like, call everyone. You might have something interesting, and then it goes from there. And then I also speak to other dealers. There's not that many of us really in the world, and we all know each other really well, and that's quite nice as well. We all help each other.
It's really interesting as well because you're 29 years old and you're talking about films that were made well before you were born, and you're talking about them again like they have this connection.
Yeah.
Would the films have the same connection if it wasn't related to the posters as well? Do you think? Like, would you be watching? Would you have watched Casablanca unless you attribute a value to
Casablanca is one of my favourite films of all time.
Really?
I think it's a masterpiece. I think if you watch it and you realise when it was made, it's just so good.
Can I admit something to you?
You've never seen it?
I've never seen it.
Watch it and let me know what you think.
Okay.
I think you'll love it.
All right.
And I've shown it to a few people and they are pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
So a lot of people who don't like films before 2000 even, I've sold them and it's well paced. It's great. I could talk about Casablanca for hours.
We need to start the movie podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think it's a brilliant idea. I think, I'd never been against it, but there are loads.
But I see what you're saying. I had seen it before.
You had?
I very much discovered the poster for that.
Okay, yeah.
But there are loads. I do love coming across an awesome bit of artwork. Attack of the 50-Foot Woman.
Right.
It's an iconic sci-fi B-movie, poster.
Yeah.
The film is notoriously terrible.
Right.
And I thought, this poster's amazing. The film must be amazing. I hated it. Everyone hates it.
Right, okay.
But it was just so nice to see.
Is there value in the poster because the film's so crap?
Is it one of those? That is an example of where
the
poster is so good. So the artist did such a good job.
Yeah.
Obviously that must have done wonders for the film. I don't know how well it did, but there we go.
Yeah, but it transcended how bad the film was.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I was thinking of ways. How do we shoehorn this in? How do we make it like transition seamlessly into this story? But you wrote on your form a bullet point. Ask me about the Tom Cruise story. Do you remember this?
Okay.
So
I did this 4 months ago, so I did not remember where you were going.
I'm thinking, how do we just make this happen naturally? But we're not going to do it. I'm just going to ask you outright. Tell me about the Tom Cruise story.
Tom Cruise sprinting just gives me energy. This is the geekiest thing.
No, I'm so in. I'm so in already.
I'll just say it now. I don't care.
Yeah.
And
did that help with the marathon training?
You think it would. I was actually listening to it and I was like, this is really annoying because I've got hours to go. I can't do this.
Right, okay.
But very much a Tom Cruise fan. I just love the Mission Impossible films. But anyway, I was going to start a new role before the poster opportunity happened. So this is why I was probably thinking of it. So I got off the train by Tower Hill and I walked around the corner. I was meant to be in the office starting at this job. I don't want to name and all of that.
That's okay.
And then I saw the cameras there. So instantly, I don't want to go to this job. I want to know what's going on here. Saw some extras and I was listening to them. I was like, what are you filming? And they were like, the new Mission Impossible. So instantly, I'm like, right, I'm staying here all day. I don't care. What am I seeing? This is amazing. And no joke, this is in the space of 5 minutes. I've got a family group chat to prove it. And I think it was 9:05. It had to be in for 9:30, not 9 o'clock, by the way. And 9:05, I said, they're filming Mission Impossible at, Fenchurch Street. And everyone was like, wow, that's amazing. And then 9:10, a BMW pulls up, security guard gets out, Tom Cruise gets out. And this is sort of 2021 COVID-y times. So no one was down the street. It was, and I was there. I just went, Tom, I loved Mission Impossible Fallout, which was, the last one of the time. This is so true. I've never told this story.
It's so
and
good.
then he went, thanks, man. Because we had to keep a distance at the time. And then I just took a selfie. All right. Which is so tragic because we have to socially distance. He's wearing a mask. But anyway, he was so nice. And we had a very brief chat. And it was just, I remember that day. And then I remember going into the new job I was starting and thinking about it all day. And then that is the defining moment where I said to myself, I'm only going to do what I love. Because I know that sounds so cheesy.
It really does.
I promise you that's how I was thinking.
But I love it. I think we all have those moments that we cling on to. And that was your epiphany moment.
Tom Cruise started this.
Tom
I'm
Cruise
here because of Tom
helped you.
Cruise. Yeah. That's a good clickbait.
It's the only reason I asked for the story. No, but I kind of need to see the selfie at some point as well.
I'll find it.
We don't need to do it right now. But yeah, I can just imagine that. And again,
but for me, that was like my family were like, oh my gosh.
You're a massive fan of Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
You love the Mission Impossible films.
Yeah.
The guys acknowledged that you've even said Tom. I mean, to even have the confidence to say Tom. In that,
I'm surprised.
Was it out of body? Was it like
just to confirm? I'm sure it wasn't that cool the way I said it.
I mean,
just to confirm, I probably went Tom, but
the voice broke.
But he still looked at me. So there we go.
Yeah. Oh mate, I love that. I think that's a lovely anecdote, and tying it into that feeling of I want to do something I'm passionate about. Because again, let's go back to him sprinting though.
Yeah,
it has to be. If you put even now Tom Cruise in a running race, he's my money's on Tom Cruise.
Oh, for sure.
Like against other celebs.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I'm trying to think of anyone else that runs quick.
No one runs like Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
I've had this debate with so many people.
Famously, doesn't he kind of give other people tips on how to run?
So I was actually reading Glenn Powell in The Running Man, the new film, and he said to him, record yourself run and then tell me what you think, because no one looks as good running as they think they do. Yeah. And I just found that hilarious.
And he had to, I think he had to tweak his running style because obviously the running
to be an
man,
action hero. Yeah,
Edgar Wright. But I just think what an amazing kind of legacy to pass down to other action stars now.
For sure.
Film yourself running, because you're going to need that in the future.
Absolutely.
I love that. I didn't know if it was going to turn into you were running with Tom Cruise story.
Well, I think it's probably partially inspired me to do the marathon, but the idea of running like Tom Cruise and a whole marathon.
No, God, I mean, it wouldn't last.
It's just not happening.
Have you seen Tom Cruise run, Tom? Have you seen him run?
I've got a 20-minute montage.
Yeah, in the movie, not in real life. Yeah, just for
I'd love to.
Just for producer Tom to come in and top the story. Funny enough, I had a race. I had a race. With Tom
I haven't got
Cruise.
that, unfortunately.
What have you? I don't know. We've gone on a Tom Cruise running tangent. What have you learned about yourself since starting a business?
Definitely the passion thing. I know I've said it a few times, but I just feel energy. I love it. I feel great when I'm talking about something I love. And I love that sounds cringy as well, but I love talking to people. I love making people laugh. And I think that I'm finding ways that is essentially my job in terms of to network to people, to introduce them to something. And how do you do that with people? You talk to them, you find out about them. I've always been interested in people. And I think that's why I'm really happy with the business, because it's just very much... What was the question again? I've gone off there. Oh, why do I forget the question every time?
That's fine. Maybe the questions are just shit.
No. Give us a good one.
Yeah, God, fucking hell.
I've answered that 3 times.
Saying all these wanky questions the entire time.
Not at all.
Yeah, no, I think...
This isn't about Tom Cruise. Why are you asking me this?
I mean, yeah. How do we top the top? We're landing the plane now, Rory. We're nearly at the end, and we're going to get onto the game in a second as well.
Great.
But yeah, the question was about what you've learned about yourself. But you have answered it. I think sometimes it's easy to go off on that. You haven't gone off on a tangent. I think to go back to the point you're making is you've identified the bits that you love about the business, and they're the things that make you good at what you do. They help you run what it is you're doing as well. Are you good at course correcting when you feel like the business is becoming laborious and you're doing the stuff that you don't want to do?
Yeah, I think so. And again, I think that the last year helped me in terms of now just with methods to do that, and to speak to other people when you need a hand, which we all should do.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. Like, people do want to help, I think, at the end of the day. Most people are very friendly at the end of the day.
I think they are.
And they want to help. I do. I know that I'll always, when people ask me stuff, I'll always do it.
Yeah, it feels like you have got a very supportive network around you.
Yeah.
I think it's also very liberating when you realise if I say something out loud, that burden is shared.
Yeah.
It's not just on my shoulders.
So true.
Yeah.
So true.
What is next for the moment? What are your plans moving forward?
So my goals this year are very much to put a lot more on camera. So, what a great start. Yeah. What a great start.
This is brilliant.
And it is just important. I just want to really push social media with it, to let people know exactly what I do, why I love it, why I think they'll love it. It's not even just film. I have travel posters. When you go in an Italian restaurant, you see the Campari posters. I've got huge original ones of those. I sold a Rolling Stones piece the other week to a Rolling Stones fan. Things like that. It's just like there's something for everyone.
Right.
And I think that I've never spoken to anyone who hasn't been interested by the end of the conversation.
Yeah, brilliant. That's a nice conversion rate.
That is a nice... Oh, yeah, it doesn't mean that. But I mean, at least interested.
Yeah. But this is a big part of you being the communicator that's sharing this, though. Like, again, so fortunate to sit in this chair and speak to people that are passionate about what they do, because it's infectious.
I would actually say there is a lesson I've had to learn, and that's very much because I love to talk about it. I can just talk about it rather than sell a poster at the end of the day.
Right.
So that is the lesson that I've learned in the last year, very much. Remember, at the end of the day, it is still a business, and you need to worry about that bit as well.
But you know what? I think even when you're not selling, you are selling. Like, people buy into your passion, and then that will, it resonates with them at some point. But I get what you mean. Like, you could probably leave.
Send that payment link as well as have the conversation. That kind of thing.
Exactly. Let's do it in tandem. That's probably what works best. And I'm going to ask you. You kind of did this earlier, but I would like some advice. Have you got, for anyone listening or watching, have you got just one investment tip if you're going to spend some money? Other than come to you and use a...
Of course, use
a dealer.
Yeah.
But one investment tip if someone is looking to spend a bit of money on a poster they love or a poster as part of an investment, just one.
I always think buying what you love actually is the first step, because I think if you love it, that kind of means other people will love it. I think people are generally... There's not many films out there that one person love and everyone doesn't. You know what I mean? I think that's a good place to start. Like, if you're a Harry Potter fan, I'd probably start finding a Philosopher's Stone now, because I think eventually they could be the next thing. But the happiest people, I think, are the ones who buy that Tiffany's poster, but they also love to look at it. They love having a dinner party. Their friends come around. They all see it. There's a story. I think just buying what you love is so important rather than just for investment. I think that is the beauty of posters. You can showcase them as well. Yeah. And for you and other people.
I think that's such a good point. And if anyone wants to see any of Rory's posters, I'll ask you, where can people... No gallery, I guess.
No.
So where can people see a library of what you've got available? So or is it more a case of sourcing?
So I have an online store.
Okay.
And that is so hard to update because obviously things change all the time. So if there's nothing in there, just drop me a message and we can literally chat. That's what I always find in terms of, and find something, even if it's not straight away, or you see something else and you want something, the amount of people who say, can you find this? But it's, as you put in the message earlier on, AI generated slot. Your words.
There's
a lot of it out there. And I say the same thing. That's actually not real. Let me help you with, and I would say that's the only thing you've got to be careful of.
Right. Okay.
I'll give you a quick example.
Please.
There's a Pulp Fiction poster. This is a cool example of something a bit different. It was 1994. The cigarette packet said Lucky Strike on it. They had no license to do with Lucky Strike, so they had to destroy and remove all of those posters. So there's an example of a recent one where if you find one of those, valuable. But when you hear those stories, you have to then do the work in terms of make sure that it's collectible. But you can Google. I don't mean you always have to come to me. You can.
No, but you are a good source of knowledge and someone to go and sanity check.
But there's other dealers as well. Yeah, but I would choose me because I'm the best.
They're not the bloody podcast, Rory. Okay, brilliant. I was also going to say, I was first introduced to your work and through some of the posters that you do source in the local merchants. Yeah. There seems to be a revolving door of different pieces. And it when we're talking about on the wall as a piece of art. First off, the local merchant shop, this isn't a plug for them, but it's aesthetically lovely.
Beautiful.
And then to see that the posters that you source, I say your posters, they are, but you didn't make them, Rory.
No, of course.
To see them on the wall,
I'm not that clever.
To see them on the wall, I just think it finishes the room off so beautifully. So nice.
I would just say the best thing about that store, they kind of started in business in around the time I did. I walked in there just to, and I built such a good friendship with those guys, and they're really helpful with me because, we're all in this together in terms of like they're running a business, I'm running a business. They've really helped me. And again, they put, I can't remember what the first one that went up was, but they did that because they liked it.
Yeah.
And I like the clothes. So I think we all just help each other again.
Did you do a run of photos? We'll have to maybe include these in some of the carousel pictures that we share. But they did some promo shots of their gear, didn't they?
Yeah.
Next to some of the posters.
Next to some of the posters, we chose some things and it just looked great. Yeah. Again, it's just great. That was, just set dressing, but it just added such a good touch to it, I think.
Yeah. That's brilliant. If anyone is in Leon C that's listening to this and wants
either call me or I'll be in the local merchant.
Oh yeah, you'll be sat on the sofa,
exactly.
where I find you most of the time. I'm going to circle back to one question that I didn't ask, and I'm going to kick myself if I didn't ask it. What is the most valuable poster or intellectual property out there in terms of movies? Is there something that like literally the thing out there?
I think example always come to mind. I think there's two in existence. I think Metropolis, which is like a German silent movie. You'll recognise the artwork even if you don't know the title because it's just iconic. And I think DiCaprio has one, and I think he paid $1.5 million in auction for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
For anyone,
I think not, and I don't have one of those, so I can't help anyone.
But have you got DiCaprio's number?
Not yet.
just in case anyone wants it. Yeah. For anyone that wasn't watching, my eyebrows literally went up at least 3 inches.
But there are so many examples of posters which sell for the hundreds of thousands. It does have that top end to it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna have to look it up.
Sure.
Not to buy, but just to look. Right, we're going to play. You remember I said earlier that I wasn't going to put you on the spot and ask you questions about James Bond.
You're doing it.
I'm now doing it. Great, I just didn't want you to be nervous about it during the conversation. I also tried another concept that I wasn't happy with, but we're going to play a game called Bond or Bust. Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to play Bond or Bust. I'm going to ask you. Basically, this is like your turn on Mastermind, but 10 questions.
Sure.
I'm going to ask them all to you, and I'm expecting 100%.
Me too.
But we'll see.
Let's go for it.
There you go. That's the confidence I was looking for. Okay, we're going to start easy, Rory, because I want to be kind to you. Which Bond film was the first to feature Daniel Craig?
Casino Royale.
Okay. He's looking at me going, what are you doing?
Bless him.
Really? Yeah. he just wants to come over and ruffle my hair now. Good try. What is the model of Bond's Aston Martin in Goldfinger?
DB5.
Correct. Ching. I've got to remember to do the sound effect. Which actor appeared in the most Bond films?
Roger
Moore, correct. Ching. I only make the noise because a previous guest said I need to do that.
Okay. Can we cut me thinking there as well? Can we say Roger Moore?
No. You need
at least be human.
For humility's sake, you need 3 seconds. You need 3 seconds before an answer. Now I just don't feel like I should ask you this one because it's so easy. What is the name of Bond's boss?
M.
Yep. Easy. Which Bond film is largely set in Japan?
You Only Live Twice.
It's the gap between them. It's too fast. Who performed the song for Skyfall?
Adele.
It feels like it needs that Mastermind. Dun, 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 dun. You were singing Skyfall. What's the house number on Bond's door in Skyfall? I can provide some additional context for you. So when he goes out up to Scotland, there is a number
when the car goes around the corner.
Yeah, there is a number on that door. So
I thought it just said Skyfall.
So Skyfall Lodge is what it's called.
Yeah.
But on the door there is the number 23.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
You've
So it's
got me.
related
You've
to
got
something
me. I'm
to
happy
do
with
with
it. I'm
Ian
happy with that.
Fleming. I mean, it's pretty
Okay.
niche, but I
Yeah.
did want to chuck
I'm
a
happy
difficult
with that.
one in
That's
there.
good.
Sanity check that. Sense check. Fact
Yeah,
check.
yeah.
It could be completely wrong. Which villain has a metal hat he can throw like a weapon?
Odd Job.
Used to freak me out so much. Like a lot of Bond villains, but
Yeah.
Odd Job specifically
Yeah.
really stayed with me as a kid.
Iconic.
Don't know why. Anyway, which Bond film was the first to show him achieving 00 status?
Casino Royale.
Yes. You ready?
Yeah.
Last question. Who directed Die Another Day?
Lee Tamahori.
Man,
There you
I'm
go.
going to give you a massive round of
Thank
applause
you.
for that. That was just too good. And now I will.
You still got me on one though. I'm happy.
Yeah, but we're
with-
going to do a fact check on that one because now I just feel
sure
slightly
I'm-
uncomfortable that
Not
there was
at
another
all,
one
not
that
at all.
wasn't on there. Right, Rory, thank you so much for indulging us in that game. I feel like
Pleasure.
we could have done 100 questions on that and you would have stayed
I
engaged.
would probably
you would have
loved it
pretty
as
much
well.
loved it. Yeah, exactly. Right, we are going to end with the closing tradition on the podcast, which is the question from my mum.
Excellent.
So let's get this done now. Right, my mum's name's Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
You could just call her Lisa when you respond to this question.
Sure.
It is only a voice note, so she doesn't hear you back. Okay, you ready?
Hi Rory, I love your posters. How many posters would a film have commissioned for each one, if that makes sense? How many potential investment opportunities could there be for each film? Thank you.
Gosh, you needed a couple of cracks at the whip there to really land that one.
No, it's an
No,
interesting
she's
question.
losing her edge, Rory. Don't.
Don't be
kind
silly.
to
Don't
her.
be silly.
But Lisa,
So, a big Hollywood film, like, let's say You Only Live Twice randomly, it would have British posters and there'll be more than one. There's multiple. It will have American posters. There'll be more than one. Japanese posters, Italian posters, German posters, everything under the sun. They're all different and there's multiple for each. So it completely depends on the marketing campaigns on the films.
Wow.
You know, and I think the earlier you go, the less there were because obviously it's smaller budgets. And then as they grew, loads. So it varies completely on the film.
and again, as you kind of alluded to earlier, keeping records of that wouldn't necessarily have been done. So there's not
No, not at all.
records of some of the older movies out there.
For sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Good question though. I like
Yeah, well, look, Mum comes up with
She's got a good
absolute
question. That was
banger
good.
every now and again. Yeah, Rory, it's been an honour to speak to you. I'm glad that
Me
we
too,
actually
thank
got
you.
this in person.
That wasn't so bad. I'm happy with that.
No,
That was-
you absolutely smashed it, mate. And I just wish you all the best for what's to come in the future. And I hope you achieve your goals.
Thank you.
I hope for 2026 and beyond. But with what you're doing, like it connects with me because I love movies so much.
Yeah.
But as you say, it isn't limited to just movies. There is something universal about seeing art on a wall, and when it's a poster or something for a brand or musician or a band or anything like that, I think it's so powerful. So keep
Awesome.
doing what you're doing, mate. It's been
Thank
a pleasure.
you. Appreciate it.
Smashed
Me
it.
too.
Well done.
Loved it.
Hey, well done, Rory. That was good, man. Honestly, you smashed it, mate.
Thanks, man.
The thing is, you